You ready to do this, Stu?
I am ready, Spencer. Punch it! Oh, I really need to find a nickname for you.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Stu Jones.
Yes, I am.
We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 81. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, fortofnerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere podcasts are available. Stop by, relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Stu, what is new with you?
Well, for a change, I've actually had a very eventful week. So I'm going to hog all the time.
Done.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't do anything important last week.
Nope.
So yeah, Portland flying is back at full force. Went twice. Not only did I go to Portland earlier in the week, I got bumped on my flight. Moved from Delta to Alaska Airlines, which actually I love Alaska so far. But yeah, they were oversold. They kept sending us emails before the flight to ask people to volunteer. Nobody volunteered. It's actually not really a huge plane, and they had to bump 3 people, and I got lottoed off. So
Wow.
I missed half of a day of meetings. So that was fun.
Let me ask you this. If they do the lotto thing, do they reimburse you? Do they give you some sort of like perk for having to be...
Yeah, they do. They give you a voucher for future air travel or whatnot, but you have to use it all in one. And that's funny you bring that up because I was supposed to be there first thing in the morning. The next flight that they offered was at 5 p.m., which was absolutely useless, and I had to be there. So the only other option was the very next flight that only had a seat in first class. So I had to use the voucher to pay for the first class upgrade. So I just upgraded the whole round trip, but
right.
Yeah. So, but that was okay, because first class on Alaska is a lot better than Delta. And then I went again.
What's the big difference between first class and coach? I mean, are you getting like champagne and caviar? Are you being pampered with hot towels?
Champagne, at least. Yeah. So with Delta, there really wasn't much difference, except the seats were a little bigger and the big bonus free drinks. Alaska actually does hot towels. They have like a snack. It's like this hummus tray with some little pitas and some vegetables. It's a short flight, so there's no actual full meal service. But yeah, and the hot towels, and they were definitely a lot more attentive and a lot more, just personal attention on Alaska as well. I've never been a fan of Delta's first class. It's very worthless.
So here's something you probably never knew about me. I've never flown first class because I'm cheap. I always fly economy.
Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of gotten... It's more about being antisocial than anything else. And I try not to get surrounded by a lot of little kids, things that make my flight uncomfortable because it's just, I fly so much. It's painful.
Sure.
This last flight, I flew first class as well. And someone had this 3-year-old with a whole entitlement complex that made that flight interesting. Fortunately, I was still somehow able to sleep. But yeah. So that was Portland. But more importantly...
Portland Part 1.
That was Part 1 and 2 kind of roll up into one thing. The second trip was kind of uneventful, and I made it on time and all that stuff. But twice in 1 week, bleh. But I had mentioned last week that I was going to go to Puddle's Pity Party show in Salt Lake.
Yes. How was that?
Well, they originally sold out the first show, which was a Tuesday, so they opened it up for the Monday prior. But all my friends were like kind of early adopters on that, so we all had tickets for the Tuesday show. I didn't know that there were a lot of people I knew were going to be there, but they were, so it was fantastic to see so many people. I went with a friend of mine. I love Puddle's music. His songs are haunting. His voice is just incredible, which is weird for a really giant tattooed up mofo. He's, I mean, seriously, golden voice. What I did not know was that this dude is funny as, yes.
Really?
We were rolling the whole show. His bit is just perfect. Like, I mean, like, my gut hurts so much from laughter from that.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, he plays a mime clown.
Not necessarily mime, just a mime that doesn't talk. He does make kind of grunt noises and other kind of sounds and things like that. He doesn't do a mime act.
Okay.
But he did have this like chair that he was scooting around on stage and acted like it was about 5,000 pounds, and he'd get like most of the way across the stage and then get frustrated, just like pick up the chair and start all the way over. Like he could lift it going back but not forward.
So more kind of like silent improv type of stuff.
Yeah, but he brought a bunch of people onto the stage throughout the show, including the person who went with me, and he kind of serenaded her and made coffee on stage. I can't even begin to describe how funny that was, but I am not Puddles, so that's why he makes money doing it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was amazing. It was fun, and he stayed around after the show to give hugs and not really talk to people, but kind of hang out with people. He stayed there till everybody left. Stand-up guy. It was amazing. It was one of the best nights I've had as far as the show goes. So
man, can I just tell you how jealous I am that I wasn't available to go with you?
You absolutely should be jealous. I would say in the future, if you get a chance to go, I would go. I may even consider flying if he does a tour again and he doesn't go to Salt Lake. It was just that good.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But other than that, let's see. I got a new chair. My old chair was squeaky, and the chair that I've been using for podcasting was kind of small and uncomfortable, and so I kind of splurged a little bit with cash, not credit.
Nice.
Dave
Ramsey would be happy.
Yeah, had these.
Get that scream ready.
Yeah, they had these Cougar chairs half off on Newegg. Right. I feel a little more empowered sitting in a Cougar chair. But yeah, super comfortable. It's fully adjustable armrests, all that kind of stuff. So I feel a bit pampered. I got a chance to watch Star Trek Wrath of Khan this week.
Ooh.
We've been talking about it so much. I got hyped for it again.
Yeah.
What I didn't really... And it was so awesome to watch it again because the things that we talked about were kind of obvious, but there's like this attitude of James Kirk being driven by revenge almost as much as Khan is.
Yeah.
And just the way he kind of messes with him and... like despite his superior intellect, he only thinks in two dimensions and kind of taking advantage of that. The play between Kirk and Khan was just freaking brilliant. Just so many pieces about that movie that I'd forgotten. So I definitely recommend watching it again if you haven't for a while. It's on Amazon. You have to rent it from Amazon, but it was like $2. So yeah, no big deal.
I've got it already. I got the original DVDs that I ripped years ago. Yep.
Yeah, well, I got to watch the Blu-ray version, which doesn't mean anything.
Anything, because it was filmed in like 1982. Yeah.
Yep. And then of course, more Lord of the Rings. Some news with Boya. We've been talking about Rogue One. She has listened to the podcast. She's not a super Star Wars geek. Was watching most of them, but she watched Rogue One this week. Was really excited to talk about it, and it was awesome reliving that newness through somebody else.
So here's the thing. Even though she's not a super Star Wars geek, Boya, give me time. I will get you over to the dark side.
I'm taking care of that just fine. Thanks.
Nice.
Yeah, she will succumb to the dark side. But no, she loved it. She picked out things that I thought were pretty novel, like how they used the cut scenes from episode 4 and kind of splice that into the end of Rogue One to give that kind of seamless transition.
Yep.
I mean, she really noticed a lot of those details. It was awesome to kind of live vicariously through her in that again. And of course, the Vader scene at the end, which is the best 2 minutes of cinema ever.
Yep.
So other than that, yeah, pretty boring week, I guess.
Well, next week, try to step it up, Stu. Do better. Do more. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, nothing actually coming up this week. Thank God.
bring your A game. The Super Friends demand more of this podcast, and we need to hold up our end.
Well, sorry, I'm the silent partner.
So speaking of Star Wars, this is really kind of interesting that you brought up Rogue One. I was flying to Nashville this weekend, and on my phone I have the originals, episode 4, 5, and 6, that I ripped from a DVD that was produced back in like 2003, 2004, that had the actual theatrical release without any of the special edition stuff. It was a double disc. They had the special edition, then they had a disc that was the regular.
Watch movies on your phone. That's crazy talk.
Seriously, like, that's so weird. Yeah. But I was watching it, and I had recently watched Rogue One, and we talked about Rogue One maybe 2 episodes back, right? When we were talking about stories that we really liked, from outside of the main body, and then we were talking about like the Rogue One stuff. And as I started up A New Hope, and I'm reading the opening crawl, I realized the genius of Rogue One. Like, it just hit me, because this had been I think the first time I've watched A New Hope since seeing Rogue One, that literally the entire plot of Rogue One is taken from the crawl. That's it, like the entire plot. And I went, I know that it fit together, and I know that they made all the pieces, but I just had that moment of actually reading the crawl for the first time after seeing Rogue One in probably years of actually really, really reading it and paying attention. And when it opens up and says, it's a galactic civil war, the rebels have just won their first battle, they've stolen, the plans of the Death Star. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
I'm like, they had the bones of that script back in 1977, essentially, or earlier, whenever Lucas wrote it. But
I had a friend. Yeah, I had a friend that said he had mentioned that he wanted to watch A New Hope right after watching Rogue One, and so I actually did the back-to-back, Rogue One into New Hope, and well played. Oh,
seriously, it gave me a moment of like pure nerd delight, is the best way to put it. Just I had this moment. I was like, that is so freaking cool.
And you appreciate Vader's entrance a little bit more in A New Hope after knowing what he just did.
Yes, because it's that, but like you also understand why he's frustrated when he's he's trying to get these, and he's like like all this, he's going through, right, and he's like, if this is a ambassador, well, consularship, where is the ambassador? And he's choking the guy and crushing his windpipe and whatnot, because like you can tell, like
you just sounded like a 1930s Vader with a cigar. if they don't have the plan, see?
See, those stolen data tapes have to turn up. Yeah. No, but it's like you can tell like his frustration, because he's responsible. He's the one trying to get this thing back, and so it linked up really perfect, and it was just kind of a nice moment.
For reals.
Yeah. So great. So anyway, my weekend was crazy busy. As I mentioned last week, I flew to Nashville this weekend. I went with my brother, and we went to celebrate the 300th episode of Married to the Games, a podcast that I'm a big supporter of and a big fan of. They're the 4 co-hosts are all personal friends of mine. Anyway, they were celebrating, and Josh and I went for the 200th episode, and so we went for the 300th episode in Nashville this last weekend, and had a great time hanging out with people. It was an interesting experience, Stu, because I got to see people that I met about 2 years ago at episode 200, and so I got to reunite with people that I got to see 2 years ago, and that I play online with, and then I also got to meet new people face to face for the first time that I've actually known for 4 or 5 years. So Kale and Katie, they're a married couple. I've played Destiny with them. I've played Overwatch with them. I've known them online for probably 4-ish years.
Sure.
But it was the first time I actually got to meet them in person and get to hang out with them and have breakfast with them, and just kind of hang out and spend time with them. And it was so much fun. They actually went on their honeymoon to New Zealand, just this back past April or so. And my wife and I are talking about going to Hawaii for our 10-year anniversary, which is coming up.
Not to Walgreens?
No, that we just go there for dates. That's a date night, not an anniversary. We go to Walmart for that.
Oh.
No, so anyway, Brida's parents went to Australia for a week and then New Zealand a week, and they really loved it. And so Brida's kind of open to maybe changing the Hawaii plans and going to New Zealand. And of course, I want to go to Middle Earth, so I want that to happen. And so I was talking to Katie and Kale, and they were showing me pictures of their trip at Hobbiton and like Auckland they were in, and Queensland. Queensland. No, it's
something.
And they were showing me pictures of these fjords that were beautiful. They're on the ship, and like this like beautiful like mountain lakes where like the water is like just crystal clear, and everything looks like you are freaking in Middle Earth there. No joke.
The funny thing is, I forgot to even mention, we started watching Two Towers with Morgana this week, and we ended up talking about New Zealand, just about those places are real, all that kind of stuff. So now she wants to go.
Yeah. So anyway, it was so much fun meeting Katie and Kale in person, getting to talk to them. I had a great time. My interest in trying to see if I can maybe swing New Zealand is at an all-time high right now, so I don't know how that's going to go. We got to celebrate the 300th episode of Married to the Games, and that was a lot of fun. We went to an arcade, and we got to play a bunch of old arcade games and pinball games. We did lunches, we did dinners with just a whole bunch of people. I mean, I think the first breakfast, we had almost 40 people show up for breakfast. And then each day as people would, have to go back home, the number got smaller and smaller. But still on the last day, we still had like 15, 16 people show up for breakfast. And so, anyway, we got to watch the E3 conferences, and that was a lot of fun. But it was just a real good time. Just a real good time, and that's a great community, all built around this podcast that I love, and they were actually one of my inspirations into starting this podcast. And so, it's just Anyway, a great weekend. But I'm back now. My kids are super excited to have me back. They did call me when I was on vacation, and my wife says, "Hey, the boys want to talk to you." And I said, "Oh, okay, sure, yeah, I'd love to do that." And the first thing I hear is Charlie, and he says, "Daddy, I love you. I miss you. Please come home." And I was like, as I'm trying to eat like ice cream at the moment.
Did it take some of the flavor away?
Yeah, I'm like, buddy, Daddy doesn't eat ice cream all that often, and I'm trying to enjoy this moment. And now you got me crying in my ice cream cone. Thanks.
Hey, that's, salted whatever.
Yeah, I had salted peanut butter with chocolate flecks in it, and it became doubly salted.
Yeah, Morgana's just like, "Hey, I'm going to Portland. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow."
Right. Yeah, I don't travel all that often, so when I'm gone, and when I'm gone for a few days in a row, like, the boys really notice it. But anyway, it's exciting to be back home with them, and they were super happy tonight. Of course, they didn't get to bed on time because of that, but,
Which is why we're recording 4 hours later than expected.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay, I'm a little tired.
So here's something that's really cool, and this is just a little thing, and, I probably talk about this way too much, I know, but...
Potbelly cooker?
No, I didn't get to do anything with the Potbelly cooker this weekend. So I went away for the weekend, right? And usually if you're dieting and trying to exercise and you go on vacation, what usually happens? You have less control over your food, you tend to go crazy.
What if you never have control?
Well, then you definitely go off the rails.
That's me every time.
And so the nice thing was that I really had a plan to try to get my exercising in every day, and I pretty much nailed that. One day I was under my steps, but the other days I was well over. And then I found a healthy balance where, like, we'd go somewhere for breakfast, and I'd have, like, eggs and, some sort of protein, sausage or bacon or something, and maybe have a little bit of, like, the red potatoes, but not a lot, and then just water, whatever. And then for like lunch or whatever, I'd have like a salad, because I had pizza over the weekend and I had ice cream twice.
Whoa.
Which was crazy for me. I know, like, most people are like, Spencer...
Twitter is going to go nuts.
That sounds like a single meal. But, but I've been working really hard on sticking to my diet and sticking to my exercise, and I've been seeing results. And I got home after definitely not being as diligent with my diet as I normally would be at home, and I was only up like 3 ounces. And so it was a really good feeling to know like I didn't go crazy, even though I wanted to, because that Jenny's ice cream, ooh boy, let me tell you, is good stuff. But I didn't go crazy. I was relatively good. But I didn't do much. Although my legs are like on fire because I started doing a bunch of air squats yesterday, and I did probably like 50 of them. And I'm losing weight, but man, I'm not in shape. My legs are on fire. They're just like, please don't do that again. You're killing us.
Yeah, I used to actually work in an ice cream factory that made the Jenny's ice cream.
Really?
Yeah, when I was living in Oregon, and that's not a healthy place to work if you're trying to maintain any kind of semblance of control.
So then I'll tell you the flavors I had because you would appreciate this. So the first time I got the brambleberry, which is kind of like it tastes like a piece of like almost like triple berry pie, but in an ice cream flavor. And then I got the milk chocolate one, which is really good milk chocolate.
You know, the funny thing is, I don't like vanilla necessarily, but Jenny's, it's like 30% milk fat in the organic ice cream sandwiches with the vanilla ice cream.
Right.
Oh.
Really good, right? So the second time I went back, this is where it got a little crazy because I went a little nuts. I got 3 scoops. I mean, the half scoops, so they're not like full scoops, but I've got one was I think it's called the almond brickle pecan. It's basically like an almond kind of ice cream with like toasted pecans, like sugar toasted pecans. It's delicious. I got the salted peanut butter with chocolate flecks, and then I got a scoop of salted caramel. And those are the 3 I kind of put together. So it was kind of like a chocolate or like a peanut butter caramel almond pecan kind of mixture. If you put them all together, it was delicious.
Yeah, we're going to need to pause recording for a minute. I need to go find some somewhere. I mean, you put peanut butter, caramel, chocolate together. That's a triple threat, and then add the little saltiness there.
Yeah, it was legit. It was absolutely legit.
Now I'm going to be salivating all show, and that's going to come out in my voice. Thanks. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. We ate a lot of good places. So anyway, I'm back home. I'm back at it again today. I got some exercising in today, working hard at it. Let's keep seeing those numbers go down. But I'm back here. We're back recording in the Fortress of Nerditude. Even though it's only a day late, it feels like it's been forever since I talked to you last because of the crazy week and weekend. So let's get this train rolling and let's keep moving.
Is it like a double train on some kind of hover track?
I feel like it's like an Aerosmith song coming up, Train keep it rolling.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that one?
No.
Well, I would insert it right here, but for creative licensing issues and whatnot, I won't.
You can put less than 8 seconds.
Yeah. I'll send you a link later. Okay. Anyway, let's get to some Rebel Intelligence, Stu.
Okay, kill the Bothans.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Stu, Rebel Intelligence, what do you have for me this week?
Well, as already generated some Twitter hate, Bumblebee trailer, his own standalone movie. Cute little guy. So, the premise, it's 1987, so this is before Transformers. The most important part of that being that he's in, the Beetle form. I actually liked the Camaro, to be honest, and I'm not a Camaro guy, but that thing was smoking. But original Bumblebee, my thoughts on this. So normally I'm not a a feel-good movie kind of guy. There have been a couple exceptions. I think Ant-Man was kind of the feel-good movie of the Marvel franchise. While I still watch the Transformer movies, they are kind of formulaic at this point. So it's nice to kind of see a departure from that formula. It's not Michael Bay, which make everybody happy. But the only Transformers that we see in the trailer, at least, are Bumblebee and what I would assume would be Starscream. Maybe not. Maybe it's a different jet. But I mean, Bumblebee, Starscream.
Right. That would make sense to me.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the trailer looks pretty good. It's definitely not your standard Bay style Transformers movie, but I'm stoked. I want to see this. I like Bumblebee. He says what needs to be said.
Which is nothing at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. That sounds like a country song. You say it best when you say nothing at all. Something like that, maybe. I don't know how I feel about this because, like I've said, and I've been completely honest, my Transformer movie watching really fell off around the third Transformer movies, and I think they're up to like 17 now. So a spin-off on a single character, there's not a lot of interest for me. However,
well, it could have been like Ironhide or somebody.
I mean, yeah, just
tier 2 Transformers.
Yeah, just no real interest for me. So
I'll drag you along for Movie Pass.
I was like, yeah, would I Movie Pass it? I mean,
well, now that you can't watch the same movie more than once.
I know. Let's not get into that again. That's a problem. Okay, so let's move on. So this is a very interesting article, and I'm going to contain my dad rage for at least the ability to get this story out, and then I will go all Incredible Hulk. A 9-year-old has been admitted to rehab. And you may be asking yourself, Stu, does she have a cocaine problem? Is she into meth? I mean,
no 9-year-old can afford cocaine. It's meth.
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, maybe she's a fluent 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills, I don't know, whatever, something, right? No. Intensive rehab to break her addiction to Fortnite. Yes, the online battle royale game Fortnite. Her parents took her to rehab. Now, you might be asking yourself, okay, that's crazy, because all kids that age are into this game. It's massively popular. Are these parents overreacting? Well, here's a bulleted list of what the girl did that caused the issue. So basically, she secretly got up in the night and would play until dawn. By the way, she was playing more than 10 hours a day. That's what kind of tipped the parents off. She neglected to go to the toilet because she could not bear to leave the screen.
Oh, boy.
Hit her father in the face when he tried to confiscate the Xbox gaming console. And dozed off in class because of her nighttime addiction.
This sounds a lot to me like my EverQuest addiction for a while.
So, I mean, 10 hours a day, I mean, that's just a really big Saturday maybe. But here's the problem with this is that, first of all, I had a conversation last week with a coworker. I may have told you this, maybe not, but I had a conversation where she was wanting to talk about she was talking about Fortnite with another coworker, and her kid wants to get Fortnite, wants to play it on the iPad. And the coworker was like, "Don't do it, video games are bad." And I was like, "Whoa, no, wait. I'm like, "Does he already play video games?" And she says, "Yes." I said, "What does he play?" And she says, "He does this." I said, "Does he play Call of Duty?" And she says, "Yes, I believe he does play Call of Duty." Which, when she said that, I felt a little bad because it was like, you don't know. That's a mature rated game. You probably should have an idea because he's about 11. So I said, okay. I said, so he's playing more intense games that are more violent than Fortnite already. I said, but really the thing is with Fortnite is that it's addicting because you can jump in quick, you can get into a quick match, and you can go, and there's a big carrot on the stick to try to outlast everyone, and so it's competitive, and Once you're out, you can stick around and watch, or you can just jump into another match that's starting up. And you can just keep doing that. And everyone's playing it. It's the big game out there. I said to her, it's not an issue of violence, but it's an issue of setting realistic boundaries with your child. Setting a time limit, saying you can't play until you accomplish X. And X can be homework, it can be chores, it can be, whatever you set that to be.
Getting chicken dinner on PUBG.
Right. Exactly. You can't play Fortnite until you play this other battle royale game. But I basically said, I'm like, set expectations and let him play it. I said, and then do what my father and mother did. If we were playing too much, my dad would just take the console. You got to take a bathroom break at some point. You got to sleep at some point.
Well, she wasn't taking bathroom breaks.
Apparently. But I mean, she's going to school. Rip it out then. You take it out and you say, you be the parent. Don't let a 9-year-old run your life. You're the parent. You control the situation. And anyway, I explained this to this woman, this coworker of mine, and I asked her, where does he play? Where does his friends play? And she decided that she's actually going to go buy him an Xbox or a PS4 and get Fortnite for him and set some realistic expectations, and that she's going to let him go. And she did that based on my recommendation. And I just said, as long as you parent, you're going to be fine. Your kid's going to be fine. He's not going to end up some cretin. That'll happen for other reasons.
Sure. And end up running his own podcast.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's a life of misery, I promise. But here's the thing. So this story that came out of the UK, the girl getting up in the middle of the night to play, okay, most kids have done that. Neglecting to go to the bathroom, no, that's probably where most kids are going to draw the line, because who wants to have to clean up themselves after an accident because they couldn't step away? No,
That's gross.
Yeah. Hitting your dad in the face because he's trying to take your console, okay, that's getting physically violent. That's definitely a problem. And then dozing off in class, I mean, that's because she's getting up in the middle of the night. Do a little bit of parenting, take a little stronger hand, take it away, unplug it. If you just disconnect your internet service, go to the modem, you don't even have to go in and take the console. She can't play anymore. That's all I'm saying. There's other ways to do it, but I think parents need to set those expectations, and if they got kids that are starting to get way involved, give them things to do.
Yeah. Morgana's, we tried to keep her away from screen. We didn't want her to raise her on screen. She's super smart though, and always does YouTube videos and watches learning stuff.
Right.
But she still goes outside and plays. She still likes her toys. We do set limits. And funny thing is sometimes even when given the choice, she'd rather play for toys and do stuff, like carving swords out of popsicle sticks.
Right. But I think that's because you probably have encouraged her and set expectations that we don't spend all day in front of the TV. So she has other avenues of interest, other things she wants to do, which is good. Yep. That's a healthy, balanced approach.
So I've got two questions that come out of this story. So one of them is, I know Fortnite has microtransactions, right? All the cosmetic items that you can buy, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And from my experience, I mean, and that's a huge draw for these games. And I know there was a big problem in the late 90s, early hundreds about kids racking up phone charges and all kinds of stuff like that. Do you know if she was spending money on this? Was there all those phantom credit card charges that...
There was some credit card charges, yeah.
Oh, goody. That's...
Yep. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, you can dispute those, but I mean, yeah, it's...
Oh, man. Okay, the more important question, though, was she any good?
Probably not. She's probably trying to clean herself up and play at the same time because she couldn't take a break.
Oh, that's horrible. No, responsible parenting wins every time. And I mean, it's easy to let your kids enjoy stuff, but still, just be aware. Oh, well. So, one of the things that, I don't know, the last couple weeks, so Kelly Marie Tran, actress from
Last Jedi.
From Last Jedi, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is kind of disgusting. One of the things that really kind of sets me off is the social media drive for ownership of certain things and the mass hysteria that ensues. So yeah, that happened here. A lot of people didn't like her role in The Last Jedi. A lot of comments about racism. Basically, she had to shut down her Instagram because she simply couldn't live on Instagram peacefully at all. It bugs me. I don't think.
Yeah, that's upsetting.
I hate the internet soapbox.
So did she quit Instagram because people were trolling her and badgering her?
Yes, but even more extreme. A lot of racism, a lot of like threats. Basically couldn't post anything without getting backlash of the nth degree. Basically not being allowed to be a person with an Instagram account.
Or these Star Wars fans that were like upset about the movie?
Yeah, they're I mean that's really all I've seen were Star Wars people. And there have been a lot of digs on Last Jedi as it is. You get a lot of doom and gloom. Star Wars franchise is over, but then you get like a role that people don't like and they point to it and they take out all their frustration and aggression on that one person.
So I'm going to go back on record because I said this when we talked about Last Jedi. I didn't think her character was very needed because her character's whole arc pretty much is the casino scene and whatnot.
I didn't like her role at all. It doesn't mean that she's a horrible person that deserves my wrath.
But I'm going to take it a step further. I don't think she did a bad job, though. I think she did an excellent job in the role that she had and the role that was given to her. She can't change the writing. She can't change the plot. I think she was a very competent, wonderful actress who did what was asked of her and did what was expected of her. And I don't think she deserves any hate for that. And people on the internet taking their frustrations with the movie out personally towards her, I think is just a despicable thing. I mean, like I said, I had issues with the plot and I had issues with the character, but not her. Not her. I thought she was great.
I would agree. She was actually pretty charming. I thought she was a little cute too, and but the role was unnecessary. Not her.
Yes, exactly. She was great, and I would love to see her in another Star Wars movie. I hope that they have a way to bring her back, or she could do something.
Can you imagine though? Do you think if you were her that you would?
I mean, I guess it all depends on how much Hollywood is knocking on her door, and if she needs a paycheck that bad that she's willing to be back in the public eye for that.
I don't know. This is like a career changer for some people. One bad event from a poor role or something that ends up with this much strife. I don't know. I would not be surprised if she ended up getting out of acting altogether. If she was taking it to heart as seriously as she might have been. If she did, though, I would be all for it.
I would understand. I think it would be a tragedy, though, because I do think she's a very likable, cute, competent actress. I think she could do a lot of things, and I think she could be successful in a lot of different things. And just unfortunately, I think the movie she was in had a... And how would you say no? I mean, how would you say no to a Star Wars movie, right? You don't do that. But unfortunately... a few people. Yeah, okay. But I mean, if you're an upcoming actor or actress and you're offered a role in a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie, a big tentpole, and you're like, hey, if this goes well, this can be a big, huge jumping off point for my career, it'd be hard to pass something like that up. It really would.
If I were Disney, I would find a way to prop her up and to give her the role of something, maybe not Star Wars, but something, and do something right by her. Not just like a, throw pity at the gesture, but give her the opportunity to kind of rise above this and kind of shove it in everybody's face.
Yeah.
So obviously she's got the Fortress of Nerditude backing her, I mean, that's huge.
I mean, that's huge.
I mean, who else could you possibly have in your corner that would really make a difference? Maybe Stephen Colbert?
I mean, maybe.
So he had a monologue recently, basically just kind of, supporting her and giving a own the haters kind of gesture, like talking about the racism of all the tweets and everything else and all the Instagram stuff, and then just kind of turning it around on Rosie or Roseanne.
Right.
So I thought it's nice. I mean, it's not really, it can get overplayed, but to see someone like Stephen Colbert kind of stand up for someone like that, he's definitely poignant. He's on point with a lot of things and definitely cuts to the chase. So good for him. I'm glad she's got support. I hope it doesn't mess things up too bad for her future, but she's got love. She's got big love.
Got love from us.
Yeah.
Stu.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something over the weekend. This pertains to E3, but it's not fully E3 because we'll talk about that a little bit later. During the E3 press conferences, during Bethesda's conference to be specific, there was a trailer for a new way to play Skyrim. And
Wait a minute, there's already like 30,000 ways to play Skyrim.
That's right. And so this is why this is extremely funny. But basically, Bethesda put out a skit with Keegan-Michael Key, where basically he's sitting on his couch and he starts talking to his Alexa. And he says, Alexa, open Skyrim. And it says, okay, you are standing in front of a mountain range. This mountain range, is, majestic and da-da-da. He's like, okay, I approach the mountain. She's like, you've approached the mountain. Now you're being confronted by blah, 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 blah. And it was this whole kind of skit about how he now is playing Skyrim literally as like a D&D or like an RPG.
Zork.
Yes, exactly, like Zork. And then they showed him playing on an Etch-a-Sketch, and then a Motorola pager, and then the Samsung smart refrigerator, and
nice.
Of course they're making a big joke because Skyrim has been ported to basically every platform, and they just announced
multiple versions.
Multiple versions, right? And they're all these things, right? But here's the funny thing, and I know this for a fact because I checked it out the next morning. We were staying in an Airbnb with a bunch of these guys for the weekend, and they had an Amazon Echo there. And so we went over and we said, hey, Alexa, open Skyrim. It freaking works. It is real. They have this thing on Amazon. It's so not only like were they mocking it, but they actually made it real. So like, it's actually like an Easter egg. Like it's a real thing. You can do this. I love this. This just makes me laugh on so many levels. It's very meta. It's very kind of like, wink, wink, nod, nod. We're going to make a joke out of this, but it actually does exist. So you can do this too and get a lot of fun out of it. And I think that's just great. I think it's great.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got a business who's getting, a lot of flack from people, even still they're best sellers for every platform and version that they come out with. So haha, joke's on us maybe. Right. But any company that can take a pop culture reference of themselves and not take themselves too seriously with it and even play into it like this, bravo, well done. I actually want to get an Echo now so I can play Skyrim again, version 5 for me, I think. It might be a little more realistic than the VR version.
So here's the thing. If you don't have an Echo, you don't actually need one. If you've got a smartphone and you got an Amazon app on there, you can actually talk to Alexa through the Amazon app on your phone, and you can do it that way as well.
Well, I also have an Etch-a-Sketch, so I'm looking forward to that.
Nice. Seriously.
I would play it. I love that though. I'm all about the Skyrims. I'm all about Bethesda. Love their stuff. So I love some of the things they do for Easter eggs and like some of their April Fool's stuff too. So
yeah. Go play that.
Good for them. I wonder if you can be like different races. Can you be Khajiit?
I have no clue.
And Alexa doesn't recognize you unless you speak in weird, whatever speak you want to.
Yeah, go watch.
Khajiit sells for wares.
Yeah, go watch that skit if you haven't seen it. It's online. You can go see it on YouTube. It's called the Skyrim Very Special Edition.
Ooh.
Totally worth it. It's worth a good laugh too.
Is it free?
The video, yes.
Or is the game free, or is it $50 like every other
no,
version?
You can play it for free, and it's live today.
Nice. Well, maybe I'll have to check that out and talk to myself as I'm driving to work.
Yeah, because that won't look weird.
Oh well. So speaking of things that I've spent way too much time growing up on. Looney Tunes. So Looney Tunes were the bomb when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're simple shorts, but you had characters that had the same. It was like my first real foray into animation that made sense. Because you knew the characters and you knew what they were going to do in any given short that you saw at any given time. You knew the relationship between Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. You did the impressions. It was really a part of my growing up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you had some tie-in movies later on. What was that?
Space Jam.
Yeah. I still love that movie. I don't care. It's not one of my guilty pleasures, though, because I don't feel guilt about anything. Anyway, so bringing back Looney Tunes cartoons. Yeah.
Really? That's going to happen?
That's going to happen. Warner Brothers Animation announced it. So from the horse's mouth, as you will. My challenge with that would be TV is kind of a thing in the past. So,
yeah.
My first thoughts would be, is it going to be Netflix but really what they're doing is they're going to kind of, provide all the content. Looks like about 1,000 minutes of it, but they're going to kind of mix it. They're going to do it on television. They're going to do it on internet in various forms. They're just going to kind of insert Looney Tunes into everything we're watching these days. So
I like that.
I'm kind of curious to see if it's going to stick. While I like the idea of kind of spreading it out, the problem is if you don't have enough content in one place, are consumers really going to get that much of it to where it picks up as a demand for them? Because it doesn't say that they're going to have like all 1,000 minutes on each media format. It's that they're going to kind of spread it out across media formats. So I don't know. Maybe I'm extrapolating from that, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I hope they have at least enough content in any given place that someone picks up on it. But I would love to watch Looney Tunes cartoons with my daughter.
Yeah, yes, that's what I was thinking. Not your daughter, but my boys.
I was about to say Stranger Danger. So, but yeah, I want to see Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner go at it.
I want to see Daffy Duck and Bugs going at it.
For sure.
Pig. Yeah, exactly. Man, I don't know when it was, but like I just was trying to think, like, when did I stop watching Looney Tunes? When did that like just kind of go away?
I don't know. I can remember it being a part of my early childhood, and then I can just kind of remember it not being there.
Yeah, me too. That's interesting. Speaking of things going away or maybe not going away, George Martin, a little while ago, we reported that he was in development of like 5 new pilots for HBO. These are going to be prequels. They're going to be other stories in the Game of Thrones universe. Well, apparently he says now that one of the things have been thrown out. There's still 3 that are in the works that could happen or not. So he says one of the ideas basically was rejected. That he says that they're prequels, that they're doing this, that they're going to, maybe film pilots and see if any of them look really good. And of course, I'm just about to like let loose with what my next emotion / statement is going to be. And then George says this, and he says, basically that the work on Winds of Winter continues and remains his top priority. He says, it's ridiculous to think otherwise. If I wasn't busy with Winds, don't you think I'd be scripting one or more of these pilots myself? It's not as if I've never written for TV. And we know that he's got a big background in writing TV. So what he's saying is that, he's come up with ideas. There's other people that are scripting these pilots, and he's kind of maybe an executive producer type of role on this.
Sounds a little defensive.
Oh, he definitely sounds defensive because he gets this all the time. Hey, yeah. George, why are you at this con? Maybe you should be writing Winds of Winter. Hey, George, aren't you worried about dying before you finish Winds of Winter? Hey, George. And
why'd you spend over 10 hours playing Fortnite the other night?
Right, exactly. And that's... He gets tired of hearing it. He gets tired of the entitlement that a lot of his readers feel that that they can dictate how and when he does things.
I think we've had some thoughts about that on a few other issues.
We have. And I get it. I mean, it's hard. You want stuff to come out and you want it to be timely. It's been 6 years now, 7 years since the last book came out. That's a long time in a book series. Usually 2 to 3 years kind of seems to be the going rate. But you know what? He's just wanting to get that out there. He's just wanting to put that out, saying that yes, while these other things are going forward, he's still working on Winds of Winter. That's his priority. That is what he's working on. Basically, he's saying, don't come out of the woodwork on the internet and freaking troll me for the next week and a half, 2 weeks about this. Don't worry, I'm still working on it.
Well, don't put out a book that's been out or that's been omitted longer than the latest Metallica album. I think that's really kind of the cutoff there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So George R. R. Martin in the news for good / maybe not good reasons. I don't know. However you look at it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not all aboard the GOAT hype train, but maybe the GOAT extended universe. Yeah. Talk about that next year.
Maybe.
So, speaking of other things that may be going away, or maybe not, the Batfleck.
Uh-oh. Ben Affleck?
Yep. So, this is really kind of about a story about a story about a story about a story, rumor mill kind of stuff.
Inception.
Yeah. And so I really despise, for myself, I do not get into speculative discussions even about movies that are just like coming out in a couple weeks. If we haven't seen something factual in a trailer, anything like that, I do not get into speculation because it tends to go nowhere. And like you see all these rumors about this is what this part of Last Jedi actually meant or something like that. And it's not fun for me. It's not fun. So anyway, I'm going to speculate. So Deadline wrote a story. Jeff Johns changing roles at DC Entertainment.
Right.
Talking about potentially rebooting Batman for a standalone franchise, likely with a new actor to play the Caped Crusader.
Bum, bum, bum.
They state likely. They're not with DC Entertainment. They're not with Warner Brothers. It makes me a little ill to think that this could get some traction, but sometimes rumors come true, so... Personally, I like Ben Affleck a lot more as Batman than I ever really thought I would. And I think he did it really, really well. So I hope he sticks around. Maybe he's got other career objectives. Who knows what the case may be.
I mean, Geely Part 2?
I would movie pass it.
No.
To send my worst enemy.
Right.
Here's a ticket. Go see this movie. It's in Theater 6. Don't look at the title.
I'm with you. I like Batman as portrayed by Ben Affleck.
You can't say Batfleck, can you?
No, I can say Batfleck. I just, at the moment, my brain didn't put 2 and 2 together.
Deadpool, Tool, and Batfleck.
Deadpool, Tool, and Batfleck. I liked him. I think he does a great job. I'm okay with seeing more movies with him in it as Batman.
Yeah, agreed. Hopefully it's just rumors and no real substance. Who knows? Yeah.
So speaking of someone clad in black who stalks about, do you remember the TV show Aeon Flux that was on MTV back like in the early 90s? It was a cartoon. Do you remember that at all?
I remember that it existed.
So that's pretty much my knowledge of it too. I remember it was really big, but I didn't really watch it. I remember I was like, well, this is a cartoon. I'm like, I want music and I want music videos. This was right about when MTV was starting to kind of make that subtle shift before they went full-on reality TV with like Jersey Shore years later. But basically, Aeon Flux is a story about a leather-clad assassin from an anarchist nation of Monica, and there's this ongoing conflict with another like police state, Bregna, and it's in a dystopian future, and Aeon goes out on regular missions to fight for her cause's side. They frequently get face-to-face with, an enemy, Trevor Goodchild. Basically, they took this story back in 2005 and they tried to make a film version of it that starred Charlize Theron. And it was produced by MTV and kind of this thing, and that pretty much was a big flop, and it didn't go anywhere. And now MTV is going to basically try to take another whack at it by bringing a live action version of this to TV, is what it looks like. And of course, people are saying, well, stick close to the source material. That was good. We really like this. I don't know if this is something that I would check out necessarily, but it's just kind of interesting to me that like MTV, it was really popular back in the early 90s. Is that because it was a really good property, a really good IP, or is it because it was like right place, right time, and it was kind of hitting it at a moment where teens were looking for something a little different, and it was different? Because the movie in 2005 failed, and so now it's like 13 years later, and they're talking about rebooting it. Do they really think that this intellectual property's got the legs to support a live-action TV show? Or is it that they're just trying to find things dipping back into that old well of what worked for them and make it work again? Because, we did get a Beavis and Butthead movie. So, did that work out very well for them? We haven't seen anything Beavis and Butthead since then, pretty much, right?
Well, that's okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But like at the time in the early 90s, Beavis and Butthead was everywhere on MTV, and they were hugely popular. So, I don't know. MTV, go back to being music television, maybe? I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm old man here.
Whoa.
Just old man complaining.
Ease up on that innovation suggestion, sir. I might be more interested in live action Aeon Flux than I was cartoon. I did watch a couple episodes. I would think that I would have liked it based on the content I remember, but it still kind of fell flat. It really felt to me like Robotech, but Robotech was awesome. Aeon Flux was not. I don't know. Maybe it just needs a new medium to set itself to work out. Good luck. I don't know. I will never watch MTV again because, it has nothing to do with music, but hey, hope somebody does. We'll Netflix it.
That's right. That's where it'll end up eventually anyway.
I'll binge it.
That's all I had in Rebel Intelligence. Did you have anything else, Stu?
Review my notes. Nope, I'm done.
Okay. Last week, we talked about the Solo movie, and we changed things up. We didn't ask you a question based on our discussion. We said... Because
we were lazy.
No, we just wanted to do something different. We said, ask us a question.
Yes.
And we want to answer some questions. We haven't done this in a little while. And so let's start over on the old email like we always do with Peter Christensen. He says, Dear Nerds, more spoiler-free thoughts on Solo. Emilia Clarke doesn't do it for me. No lecherous gurgle. I like that he put words to that. It's a lecherous gurgle. Now I feel like a lecherous version of Smeagol.
Okay, so there needs to be a hashtag lecherous gurgle on this episode.
Yeah, I think so. He says, but she did a great job in the movie. He says, I love Paul Bettany as the villain, but you're right, you can't see anything but Paul Bettany. He says, my favorite Easter egg was the Empire recruitment video. It was playing Darth Vader's Imperial March music, but in a happy, triumphant sounding major key. And I did notice that. It was subtle.
Yep.
I liked it.
Yep.
Okay, he says, my question for the Fortress of Nerditude. Would you consider a book club episode or series? This could be for sci-fi, comics, fantasy, etc. No specific suggestion. It's just an area you haven't gone yet. Cheers, Peter. Thanks, Peter. So, Stu, his question. Would you consider a book club episode or a series?
Here's why I think that might be difficult. A movie club episode is about a popular movie that comes out that everyone's going to be talking about, and we want to chime in and provide our thoughts, and it really takes only about 2 hours of our time, give or take, to watch a movie.
Sure.
While I would love the idea of a book club or series club. Well, book club specifically, that could definitely be a challenge. Trying to get the time to read a book is just not something I get a chance to do very often. And then to have it be like a new book that's just come out and then have us read it, that's going to take a couple weeks. maybe not too bad an idea. There are some Netflix series that kind of lend themselves to binging that may make some sense. I would get down with that. The book club I just don't find it to be very practical, not for interest. I would love to talk about other media other than movies, to be sure. I just don't know how that would work out well. Series club, I would be into it.
So my take, I guess, on Peter's question is that would I be interested in doing something like this? I think yes is the answer. But it would kind of have to be, I think, maybe like a sidekick podcast. Because I would think that maybe, like, for instance, like Wheel of Time, right?
Sure.
I've read the Wheel of Time. That thing is like, 15 books long, 14 books long? It's a humongous undertaking. I read nothing but the Wheel of Time for about 13 months straight to knock the entire thing out in one go. And
ouch.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read anything else for like a year. But I really enjoyed my time reading it. And so I like the idea of talking about a book, but I think maybe it would have to be something where it's a sidekick type of podcast, and maybe like we covered over a few episodes of that. But it would have to be something either we've read previous or something we choose to read, but know that it's like not going to be very frequent.
Yeah.
But I'm open to the idea. I don't really maybe know how to work the formatting of it and figure out like the logistics of it. But I do like that idea because I do like books, and I've talked to in the past briefly about my love of Patrick Rothfuss's Kingkiller Chronicles series and the Brandon Sanderson Stormlight Archive that's current. I'm reading a new book series right now by James Islington called the Licanius Trilogy. It's really good. I think the third book comes out in October, and I'm about a quarter of the way through the second book right now. So that is an interest of mine. I would be up for something like that, but it just, would be sitting down, finding the right book or a series and figuring out the format and figuring out how to do it in a way that I think would lend itself to a podcast and not lose interest over time.
Yeah, I would find myself talking about white pager documentation from Salesforce. I don't even want to talk about that, let alone keep reading it. I would be interested, I don't know. As I'm thinking about it, though, there are a couple times where it would have been awesome to do that. Darth Plagueis is probably the most recent, where I read that, and that would have been awesome to do, like you had mentioned, a sidekick or something. But
yeah. Something to think about, though.
Yeah,
definitely something to think about. I like that.
It's got the wheels turning.
Yeah. And that's probably what Peter wanted in the first place. Is just to get us thinking about it. I know. Look at this guy. Let's go over to Facebook. We got Caleb Albers. He says, so my first question, the fact that he says my first question means I think this is going to be a multiple part.
As long as he doesn't have much to say.
Yeah, right.
We love you. We love you,
absolutely. Caleb's absolutely a super friend of the podcast. He says, my first question is going to be in reference to how you guys were talking about superhero fatigue. Do you think that if superhero movies can maintain the quality that Black Panther had and Infinity War had, do you still think that superhero fatigue would be a thing? As you know, I don't believe in superhero fatigue. So the answer for me would always be no. Okay, so we'll start with that one, and then we can get to the next question. My answer is yes. I still think it'll be a thing. And that's not because I don't think it has anything to do with quality. I mean, it does, but it doesn't at the same time. So if you have a quality product, people want quality, right? But eventually you get tired of it, even if it's quality. So I love mint chocolate chip ice cream. I love it from Baskin Robbins. I could eat it once and love it and want more of it. And so I could go back like the next day. But by about day 4 or day 5 straight of eating just the same ice cream, it becomes too much of a good thing, and then I start to lose interest a little bit. And maybe I start looking around. I start looking for a new girlfriend. That Cherry's Jubilee's got her eye on me. Or maybe I'm looking over at daiquiri ice. I'm thinking I could have daiquiri ice on the side, a little side piece. I would
You took this to a very weird place that I really appreciate.
I would be very tempted. I'd be very tempted to start looking elsewhere, and I think that happens with movies, big franchises. I mean, for me, like I said, Transformers. I got burnt out. I kind of got to the point where I was like, eh. Same thing with Fast and the Furious. I kind of went, eh. I was like, I don't want to see more of this. It's a lot of the same. Now, that doesn't mean that other people don't get burnt out, but I think that high quality is good and will sustain you for so long. Fanboys, for people that are hardcore Marvel fans, hardcore superhero fans, they're going to stick around. But the general public that's not, that they wanted to see something new, and it was cool when Tobey Maguire was the first Spider-Man, that was, a big thing. They hadn't seen a really good quality Spider-Man movie or any big quality superhero movies. So they were down with that. But
well, even when you have new stories, like we're seeing different comic book arcs and things like that, you still start to see some of the same formula. Even if it's not the full movie, it's part of the movie. You can only see someone with superpowers do neat stuff over and over again so many times. It's a matter of genre, not necessarily quality, like you had said. And like we look at, say, all the parody movies that were mid 90s, and you had like all the police academies and the Hot Shots Part 2, and everybody was jumping on that bandwagon. Those, I started to get burnt out. Most people started to get burnt out pretty quickly. When Jurassic Park came out, you had a whole slew of dinosaur-type movies. Granted, these are not all the same series, but the point still remains that it's kind of more the same. Superhero movies used to do so well because and sci-fi in general, they were the exception to movie fare. Like, I mean, even Star Wars, when Force Awakens came out, it wasn't just that we were excited for a Star Wars movie. It was like, oh my God, it's been so long since a Star Wars movie, and it's freaking awesome. And, you space that out. Great. Now people are literally saying things like, oh, great, another Star Wars movie. The fatigue's going to be there. It doesn't really matter. It's just kind of a function of how people watch movies. Some people are immune to it. If you are, great. But as soon as the fad starts to fade, they start making fewer movies, and that's how it goes away.
Yep. Okay, question 2 says, something I saw in Deadpool 2. Seeing Juggernaut and Colossus fight was a magical nerd moment for me. I've seen them fight on multiple occasions in the comics. So my question to you is, what comic book fight would you two like to see come to life? Side question, where do you stand on the Superman versus the Flash race? I still can't believe it's an actual argument. The Flash is a billion times faster than Superman, yet there's still tons of debate about it. So which big fight would you like to see from the comics in a movie?
Wow. That's a tough one. I'm not a huge comic book guy. I don't know, man. I would like to see Doctor Strange, like, kind of up against anybody. I mean, we got to see the henchman kind of thing, but I want to see him, like, on his own doing some major monster kind of thing where it's like strength versus magic. Not kind of like on equal terms, but to see that dichotomy between the powers, I guess. And as far as Flash versus Superman, Superman is quoted as faster than a speeding bullet. He could be as fast as the Flash. He's not from Earth. Flash is from Earth. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Flash, though, can break, like, Mach speeds, so he's obviously faster than a speeding bullet, too.
Sure. I'm just saying that it's not impossible for him to contend. I'm not saying it's obvious that he wins, but, superhero, magic made up, physics aside, who knows?
So, for me, it's not necessarily I want to see this fight, but maybe a team up, maybe a fight. I want to see Deadpool and Wolverine together on screen in a movie.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to track my answer. I actually want to see Deadpool and Wolverine go at it in a movie.
That's what I want to see. and it's funny because I think the people, Ryan Reynolds and the people doing Deadpool, they know that. And so obviously they make little jokes about it and little, break the fourth wall and, all that. And so I want to see that. That would be awesome.
That would be pretty cool.
I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'd want to see that. Okay. Let's see here. Third question. It says, what would be a movie or video game prop that you would personally want to add to your guys' collection from any fandom? It says, I think something that can follow alongside would be with you guys would be any cosplay what would it be?
Ooh.
This is easy for me. This is like super easy for me.
Oh, there's so much for me.
I've got tons and tons and tons. But if I could have one and only one, I want a screen-used lightsaber prop. That's what I want.
That would be pretty sweet.
That's what I'd want.
I personally would want one of the actual cars used in the first Bay Transformers. Specifically the Corvette. I'm just saying.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, it says, last question is going to be a little bit awkward for Stu.
Uh-oh.
He says, I know how people get when you bring up the X's.
Oh, it's a Steve, isn't it? Steve.
He says, how is Steve doing? We haven't heard from him in a while. Okay, so update on Steve. I've talked to Steve recently. I talked to him probably about 2 weeks ago for quite a bit, and he's doing well. He's still obviously trying to help his dad find VA housing because his dad's no longer able really to work because of the issues with the coma that he was in and all the other medical things that have been going on. So it's he's doing well. He's just keeping really, really busy. I know that he's got some stuff going on with work that he's heavily involved in. He's taking a big lead on, but he's doing well. He misses being here. We talked about that. I know Stu and I have talked about, trying to start planning ahead for the 100th episode. We'd like to find a way to get Steve to be a part of that if we can get him to be available. But he's doing well. He's just busy, and he misses all of you, and especially you, Caleb. Especially you.
Aww.
And Peter Christensen.
Oh.
And pretty much everyone. But especially you, Caleb. But especially you.
Everyone's my favorite.
Yeah. Okay, let's go over to the Twitters.
Tweet.
Okay. So let's start with Patrick Novacell at Nova Beyond, who I spent the weekend with and had a lot of fun. He says, what type of phone do you have, and how many times do you have to charge your phone in a day? I'm still rocking an iPhone 6 Plus, and I need to charge it after 12 hours. I feel like the battery's getting worse and worse every day. #FON questions.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, that's kind of an old battery, especially with an iPhone. Unless you've had it factory replaced, that battery isn't going to live too long. I have the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. Rather happy with it. I did not like the 7. Loved the 6. 7 really kind of threw me off. The Edge works better on the 8. I charge it overnight, and that's all I need to typically, unless I'm like working from my phone all day, which does happen from time to time.
I have the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, the one that Stu just slammed pretty hard.
Yeah, the Edge sucks.
I don't have problems with it. I actually turn off the Edge stuff. I don't use it.
The Edge is horrible on the 7.
I thought I would have liked it, but I usually charge my phone up at night. But then I did get a dock, like not a dock, but like I don't know what you call it, a little magic dock.
Charging pad.
Charging pad. Thank you, Stu, for the assist. I got a charging pad on my desk at work, and so when I get back to my desk, I just drop it on there at all times. Not because I necessarily have to, but like once I start getting down into like the 60 percentile, like there's some part of me that's like, nah, this isn't going to make it all day. I got too much stuff still to do.
You're not like my daughter that runs around with 2% charge and then wonders why her phone dies?
No. My phone doesn't die on me. I don't think I've had a phone die on me in probably like a good 10 years. I'm a responsible person who plugs the dang freak in.
That tells a lot about a personality. You know, what your charge is on your phone, how full your gas tank is. Just saying. So
I'm different on the gas tank thing. I've ran out of gas plenty of times.
I imagine this with your personality. So, do you have a phone case? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I did. So I didn't. This is the first time I got a phone case. I didn't ever before, but I got my Edge, and on day 15, the day after the ability to take it back, I dropped it and put a scratch on the side bezel that pinned the volume button in. And then I had to use a razor blade to kind of like help scrape the metal out of that where it was being pinned down in order to free the volume button. So after that, I went and got a really, really low, thin profile case. It's a Spigen. I got it off Amazon for like $7. And I haven't yet had a problem with my phone since.
So are you able to charge your phone on that charging pad with the case on?
Yes, I can.
See, that's my frustration. I have, as Spencer can see and nobody else can see, I have a Darth Vader phone case, and that's really all that matters.
Yep.
I have no idea who made it, but I have to take the case off to use my charging pad.
Oh, that sucks.
But I don't need to charge it except for overnight, so it's not too big a deal. If I needed to more often, I would definitely consider a case that let me do that because I hate taking this stupid thing off every time.
Okay.
Vader doesn't like it either. So there you go. I actually appreciate the non-media related question.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Brian at BravesB_ says, what were your top 2 favorite things from MTTG 300?
My top one was that I didn't go, so that sucked.
Wah, 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 wah.
But I'm glad that Spencer got to go. So I know you were looking forward to it. I know we talked about it a little bit.
Yes. So this is going to sound really like, I don't know.
Cheesy.
I'm going to try to make this not sound cheesy.
It's going to be cheesy.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's in all sincerity.
It's cheese.
One of actually my favorite things was actually meeting Brian and his wife Callie this weekend. Brian's been a super friend of the show for a while. Brian got some cookies on a giveaway Steve and I did a while back ago. So we've interacted on Twitter a bunch, and we're part of the MTGG community. And I got to hang out with Brian and his wife Callie, and great people. We had so much fun, and they're big baseball fans. I'm a big baseball fan. I mean, different teams. They're Braves, obviously, and I'm Cubs. But that's okay, because it's not a big conflict of interest there. It's not like he's a White Sox fan or some crazy crap like that.
Whoa.
Seriously, right? But that was actually one of my top things, was meeting Brian and Callie. I had so much fun with them. I really wish my wife would have been there, because I think my wife would have really got along with Callie as well. And it's unfortunate that they live in South Carolina and I'm over here in Salt Lake City, Utah, because that's a big thing. So we're gonna have to communicate more online.
Well, people need to start coming to Salt Lake for the
FanX. There you go.
I was going to actually say for our podcast, but that's fine.
So what you're saying is we need to have a centennial celebration for the Fortress of Nerditude?
I think that starts at 200, because at 100 you're still broke.
Well, the funny thing is Married to the Games 100, I think they said they had like 8 people that showed up. And then at 200, they were probably mid-30s, and we had probably 50 people at the 300.
You know what? I would be ecstatic to have 8 people show up to 100th episode of FON.
Right. I mean, for sure, because, I flew across the country to go to this thing, and I couldn't imagine people making that big drive to come do that if we said, hey, we're going to do a celebration, or we're going to do a get together or something. I think Josh would show up because he's 3 minutes down the road, and Brita lives in the same house as me, and she might not even show up because she wouldn't want to get a babysitter. So
we'll bring the kids. There's 3 more between us.
Right. Exactly. So Brian, in all sincerity, meeting you and Callie was one of my top highlights of the week. And then I'd probably say the other one would have been just the overall experience of everything, going along with meeting Brian and Callie. I got to meet Katie and Kale, and they're people that I played online with for about 4 years and spent a lot of time online with, and I actually got to meet them in person for the first time, and so that was a big thing. But my other one I'd say was, just the whole experience of being there, having fun, watching the E3 conferences with everyone, and doing something that was out of the norm for me. I do this once every 2 years. And so it's nice to kind of get a little bit of a break and to, just go and have a good time with people who you would think, hey, technically we're all strangers, but it doesn't feel that way because it's just a big family community, and
it's enough outside of your box that it's a memory builder.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be awesome.
Anyway, thank you for the question, Brian. Burn at Dantes_Belmont. He says, how bad do you hate air travel by now? Now, I need to explain something to you, Stu, so you have some context as to where this question comes from.
Okay.
Friday night, Josh and we leave the house around 4:30 to go pick up Josh. Pick him up. We head down to the airport. We park the car in long-term storage. We get through security. We get on. Boom. We fly to Denver. No problem.
Hey, sounds like it's a good trip.
Yeah, so far. Then we get to Denver and they say, hey, the plane from Chicago has been delayed. It's been delayed about 2 hours or so. Now, our flight is supposed to get into Nashville already at about 1:30 in the morning, 1:30, somewhere around there. And now it says, hey, it's been delayed by about 2 hours. Fine. This isn't making me happy because we have breakfast plans in the morning on Saturday at 9 a.m. But, you got to do what you got to do. And so we're waiting. And the plane got in a little bit earlier. So it was only maybe about an hour and a half delay, not the 2-3 hour that they were kind of saying originally. But we get on the next plane, we get to Nashville, we arrive at 2:30 in the morning. And we go downstairs to where the rental car counter is, and it's closed. Closed. Now it's 2:30 in the morning, and my brother and I are extremely tired because we've been up since about 6, on Friday morning, and it's now 2:30 Saturday a.m. And we start doing a little research and we find out that they closed at midnight. So even if we had been on time and came in between like 1:30, we still would have had a closed rental counter when we got there. And my car reservation would have to sit till the morning. So now we're looking at it and we realize that the rental counter doesn't open back up again till 5 a.m.
Ugh.
So we have to make a decision.
Uber.
Stay there for 2.5 hours or Uber. But we started looking at it. If we Ubered it, it was going to cost us about $50 to get to where we were going. Then on top of that, we were going to get there. And then, because it was about a 45-minute, almost an hour drive to where we had to go. By the time we got there, we'd have to find someone that was staying at the Airbnb with us to bring us back sometime later in the day so we could get the rental car. And so it would just be a lot of back and forth and unnecessary trips. So we decided in our sleep-deprived brains that we're going to hang out for 2.5 hours down by the rental car area.
That's when you make your best decisions.
Of course. So my brother's playing the Vita, and I decided to start walking laps to get my 10,000 steps in for the day, and I was doing some air squats as well. And I'm sure that the security people looked at me crazily, and they probably weren't wrong. We were super, super slap happy.
I've actually seen people exercising in the airport a lot.
Yeah. It's probably weird. I think it's weird, and I was doing it. So I don't know what that says about me, but I was very, very sleep deprived. 5 a.m. comes, we get the car, then we realize it's like an hour drive, and then we realize that hour drive also puts us about an hour away from where we actually need to be for breakfast at 9 a.m. So we got to the Airbnb about 6:15 in the morning as people were getting up and already making pancakes at the house. And they're like, oh, what time did you get in last night? And we're like, we just got in just now. And they're like, what? And so we dropped our stuff. I literally put on, we talked to everyone, and then I literally put on cologne and deodorant, changed my shirt, got back in the car, and then drove another hour to go over to be there a little early so we could meet everyone for breakfast and kind of arrange everything because my brother had kind of put together this little breakfast schedule. And then we went the whole next day. I didn't get to bed till about 1 in the morning the next night, 2 in the morning the next night. So I was up for 42 hours straight. Then on the flight home, we flew from Nashville to Vegas just fine. And then we get to Vegas and we're like, hey, so the flight from Chicago that's coming here has been delayed. So it's going to be about another hour and a half wait. So, of course, that meant that I arrived home this morning at about 3 in the morning, and I didn't fall asleep till closer to 4 a.m. So I took an extra day off. I told my boss I wasn't going to come in. I needed to get some sleep because I'm running extremely low. So all that being said, my crazy adventure of traveling goes back to Burns' question at Dantes_Belmont. How bad do you hate air travel by now? And here's the answer.
You could have been asking me. Just saying.
I don't really hate it because A, I got home safely. There was no accidents. I'm in one piece. I'm with my children and my wife again, which is good. Was I inconvenienced? Absolutely. Did I miss out on sleep? Absolutely. Does this happen to me? Hardly ever. Hardly ever does this happen to me when I fly. It's a very rare occasion for me.
Hey, it's a regular bit
week,
for me on the podcast.
I was going to say, if I was flying like Stu was and this was happening, yes, I would definitely hate air travel. But it was a bit of an adventure. It made some memories, and my brother and I told some really dumb, stupid jokes that had us laughing all weekend because we were very sleep deprived when we came up with them. So,
of course,
there's
got to be something going on at O'Hare. My business has a hub in Chicago, and the only people we ever have a problem with making it late for training, if we have it at headquarters, Chicago flights are delayed every stinking time. So, I don't know. As far as me, I am not sick of air travel, believe it or not.
Really?
It's not a bad trip. I upgrade when I can. It doesn't really fatigue me. I love Portland. It could be less frequent, sure, but I like to travel, so it's not bad at all.
Nice. Paul Calico at pcalico84. He says, "You've just been exposed to a green goo canister with TCRI on the label. What do you mutate into? What's your favorite TMNT character? Autobot or Decepticon? Favorite character from said faction? Pepsi or Coke?" So a little quick fire rapid. So you've been exposed to toxic ooze. What do you mutate into, Stu?
Dead pool of toxic ooze.
Ah.
That's my superpower is being dead. Outstanding charisma and physique.
I like that. I'm gonna mutate into a hulking rage of physical abuse and humor. So I'm just gonna become basically like the Incredible Hulk, except I'm also gonna do like stand up on the side.
So you're Hulk from Ragnarok.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm thinking more like hey, I just flew in and my arms are sure tired, like really cheesy, stand up lounge kind of guy.
Oh. Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
I got nothing.
Next one.
Favorite turtle character. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle character.
The one with the nunchucks.
That's Michelangelo.
That's me.
Yep. I love Mike, although when I was originally watching the cartoon back in the late 80s, early 90s, I'd have to say Donatello. I really liked Donatello. I liked all the nerd tech gear that he had. Autobot or Decepticon?
Decepticon.
Stu? Ooh, I'm an Autobot.
What?
I'm all about Optimus Prime.
Plus,
I hated the Starscream.
Yeah, he is not my favorite of either faction.
It drove me nuts. Yeah.
So I need to get. So I actually have a Horde sticker on my car. I need a Decepticon sticker of the same size to go right above that to kind of sport my faction. My favorite would be. Oh, what the heck? Now I can't remember his name. It's been so long. The Boombox.
I don't remember.
That had the cassettes. Soundwave.
Oh, Soundwave. Yeah. Me, I'm an Autobot, and it's got to be Optimus Prime. I mean, that's... It seems too easy. It's too much of a gimme, but that's like saying, who's your favorite X-Men? Okay, Wolverine. But, I mean, what else am I going to say?
Who's your favorite DC character?
Superman. I mean, okay, Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
I'm going to say Dr. Pepper. I know it's not above, but I really can't choose between either because I don't care for either, really.
Well, which one do you hate less?
Pepsi.
So, interesting little sidebar here. We did, with my older daughter, we did a science experiment when she was in 9th grade.
Did you do the Pepsi challenge?
We did our own version of it.
Okay.
We went in front of a Walmart, set up a table, had these two 2-liter bottles of Diet Cola.
Okay.
We put a red piece of construction paper on one and a blue piece of construction paper on the other, so you could tell the difference.
Yeah.
And we had this taste test. We asked people which one their favorite was and whether they preferred Coke or Pepsi.
Yeah.
90% of the people that chose red also chose Coke. About the same for Pepsi and blue. The funny thing was everyone had a choice. Everyone liked one of them better, and they were both Sam's Club Diet Cola.
Really?
That was awesome. I love that.
Really?
Yep.
People who say they can't tell the difference between Coke and Pepsi, I think, have no taste buds
Oh my God, they're so different.
because they're extremely different. However, I don't do the diet versions, so I could see like the diet versions would be different. So if you matched in like the Dr. Sam's version, which is like the Dr. Pepper version, right? Yeah, I could see I could make some of that, but you can't fool me with Dr. Pepper clones, man. I know that Dr. Pepper taste.
I actually happen to like Mr. Pibb better.
You heathen.
Yeah, well, that's what you get.
Okay, Bear the Hairless at Chad
Optimus
Fackler1,
Prime.
super friend of the podcast and a super like retweeter. Like people all the time say like, "Hey, I'm looking for a new podcast," and he always thank you, Chad, but he always blasts us out along with a bunch of others that he's listening to, and we're always included in that group. Like, and I see that at least a few times every week. So he is doing the Lord's work for the Fortress of Nerditude.
Amen. Hallelujah.
He says, so what's your favorite part of flying? The delays, the rentals, the crowds, the getting
Sounds like
groped
a
by
theme.
TSAs. He says, just kidding. I know how well your flight went to MTG 300. Sorry I couldn't make it, but my nephew graduated from high school, so you know. Here's the thing, though. I actually like getting groped by TSA the best, if I'm being perfectly honest. If she's cute, I got some time on my hands, I'll make some small talk.
You don't fly very often at all, do you?
No, not at all. But it is interesting though. Like you go through like those like the backscatter scanners, right? You put your hands above you and whatnot, and everyone put up this big stink back in the day because it could see more than it should, and they changed some stuff. But normally I go through and there's not a problem. But this time for some reason, like the way I was wearing kind of like cargo shorts, but like the way like the pocket on my right side down by my knee was kind of bunched up. Like I guess like the cloth was just like too dense or something, so it said like there could have been something there, and so like they had to like just pat down my pocket, which was fine. There was nothing there, but that was the first time I think I've been patted down in quite a while. Now, shortly after September 11th, 2001, I bald head, goatee, was wearing a leather jacket, I was wearing steel toe boots, I got stopped a lot. And I mean, every single time I flew for a few years, I got stopped. I had to, go into like the little room and they had to do the pat down. I had to take the belt off and like roll your pants down like 2 or 3 inches to show there was nothing under there, and like pull my boots off, and they'd have to inspect it because they were steel. And like, it was crazy. And like now they look at me and they're like, this is a middle-aged no one. We're not worried about him. But apparently
Probably drives a Corvette.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, wait, no.
Midlife crisis.
My midlife crisis mobile. My favorite part about flying is actually TSA pre-check, so I don't have to deal with all that crap.
Oh, that would be nice. But I don't fly that often, so.
Yeah.
Do you have to pay for that, or is it just like you have to like fly so much?
It's $80 for 5 years.
Well, that's not bad.
No, and it's worth it. I mean, my time alone, 2 minutes in a line versus an hour in a line. Yeah, I would rather go get that extra little nap while I'm waiting for my flight.
That's interesting. Do you have to fly so many miles to qualify, or is it just you pay the money?
You pay the money, you go to TSA, they do a pretty thorough background check. So yeah, I mean, it could count as a security clearance, I guess. Because
I wonder if that'd be worth it to do coming up, because we're going to be flying to Orlando with the kids to go on this cruise next February.
If you've got kids, you're going through regular security anyway.
Oh, you can't do TSA
unless they're
for kids?
pre-check. Nope.
But I mean, if it's I'm saying $80 per
go
kid.
wait in line. We'll wait for you on the other side.
No, I'm just saying like $160, so I don't have to like have my kids stand in line for like an hour and do
for
the whole
2
thing.
lines though. For 2 lines, man. Even if you got to wait in line.
Yeah, but if we started flying more, I'm just saying, I don't know.
I fly every week, thus it's necessary. But if it was less than say once every other month, nah.
Gotcha. Okay, Nerdish67 at dspin67 says, do you plan on seeing The Incredibles 2?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
We're actually
the podcast will be seeing
yes.
The Incredibles 2.
We're actually taking the kids this weekend. He says,
nice.
Do you have Movie Pass? And that's a big resounding yes. We both do have Movie Pass. He says, do you have any big plans for the summer?
Yes.
Stu, you're taking a big trip this summer.
Yes, and that's coming up so quickly, less than 3 weeks now.
I'm so excited for you. That's awesome.
Me too. It'll be great. This will be the first vacation with me and Mo on our own kind of thing. Going up home, she's never flown. She's never seen the ocean. Going to stay up with a really good friend of mine. Getting to see my 2 daughters together after over a year. There's just everything right about this trip.
For me, my big plans are I'm going to try to get my kids to learn how to ride bikes this summer and take swimming lessons this summer. And so I'm going to just try to make this summer all about spending good quality time with them and doing stuff outside. And because I am dropping weight and because I am becoming more healthy, I actually have greater physical ability again than I used to. And so I want to take advantage of that this summer and do a lot with them outdoors.
You can haul whole bags of sod or whatever back and forth.
That's right. I'm like a freaking modern day Paul Bunyan. He says, his last question, he says, my company is having a silent auction on laptops and monitors. What is a good price to bid? Lenovo, either i5 or i7, approximately a 500 gig hard drive, maybe 8 gigs of RAM. It's about a 15-inch screen. I actually buy quite a bit of laptops for some of our clients, and we'll typically do eBay, and we'll do the Dells because we can get still a refurbished with a warranty. So I'm going to say that laptop, like a Lenovo i5 or i7 with 500 gigs of space and 8 gigs of RAM, that probably on eBay is going to go somewhere between the $700-800 range. It's just going to depend on how new of a model. So how is that the current i7 or is that 3-year-old i7? That's going to make the difference.
Yeah,
so
the generation of i7s is a little deceptive.
Right. So here's the question. If it's a new one, I'd say it's probably going to be worth about $800 or so. And you could probably make a safe bid. You could probably make a safe bid of $500 and stand a reasonable chance to get it maybe. But if it's an older one, we're talking 2-3 years older, then it's not worth nearly as much. I'd say it's probably only worth maybe $250-300 tops. And so I don't think it would be worth anything more than maybe $150 bid. I mean,
see, my experience is a little different. I've had to replace my laptop on a regular basis. Bad stuff keeps happening to me. I keep dropping them.
All that Lotro.
All that Lotro. No, I can't get Lotro to run on my smaller laptop. Makes me sad. But I mean, you can get a nice brand new i5 or i7, probably one generation back, for $400 from Best Buy or Walmart or something. So, I mean, maybe it's a little more powerful than those. Do you need it to be?
My guess is okay, so he says that his company's having the silent auction. So my guess is that it's not a economy consumer grade Lenovo, but it's more of a business grade Lenovo. So it's going to be a little beefier, and that those typically don't go that low. That's my guess. I don't think that he's.
So with the silent auction, if you win it, you're locked into your bid, right? So if the second highest bid is $5 and you put 500, that's a pretty huge margin of loss.
True, but you don't know what the other person bids.
Right. My recommendation from my experience would be $250. That's safe. If it's going to be more than that, then maybe you don't want to pay that much for it anyway. If it's less than that for second bid, you never know, but you haven't wasted that much more money. I would say our viewpoint is that I'm used to buying a little bit older laptops, but brand new. Spencer works in the industry and deals with those kind of laptops on a more regular basis than I do. So take both of those things into consideration. Just don't go broke when you don't really need to.
Yeah, that was going to be my final caveat to put in there is
what is it worth to you?
Yeah. Bid what you can afford to pay for something. If you desperately need to have a laptop and you don't have a computer and you need one for school or for kids or something, then maybe be willing to bid a little bit more if you can afford it. But if it's just hey, I can get an extra one and it'd be nice to have it, but it's not a need, then bid lower and try to save some money on it.
One other consideration is to consider how many of these laptops are going to be auctioned. The more there are, the lower you can go, because someone who bids and gets the first one for a lot of money, they're not going to keep doing that over and over again.
That's true. That is true too. So take that with a grain of salt and do what you will. And write back and
Salted
let us know
caramel.
what happens.
Salted caramel.
Let us know what happens, though, because I'd be interested to see if you end up grabbing a laptop out of this silent auction or not.
And how much you paid. That's
Yeah,
a little
that too.
gauche, but you got to tell us anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, that is the last of the questions we had this week, Stu. Thank you, Super Friends, for writing in and asking us questions. We are always available at all the usual places. Email, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com. You can get us on Twitter, which is we're at fortofnerd. Facebook, which is facebook.com/fortofnerd. Or you could have called in and left us a voicemail, which would be 801-477-7687. Stu, how can our super friends help us out this week?
They can sneak in questions every week because honestly, we're going to answer them anyway, even if they're not related to the topic. But also, you can leave a 5-star review for us on iTunes. Get our ratings up there. Help us generate some seed to make it higher on the lists and get the word out so that other people see us and see our content. And also, you know what? Keep doing the whole Twitter stuff. You guys are fantastic. Holy crap. I love the retweets.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You guys are awesome. Stu, obviously, this is going to be a no-brainer for what we're going to be talking about. E3 just happened. It's a big, massive event.
What's E3?
Yeah, exactly. and obviously, I went to an event to celebrate E3 and watch the conferences and got to hang out in Nashville for the weekend with some of the best possible people I could know outside of my wife and children, and you, of course. So let's talk about E3, but let's not cover everything. Let's go with what are some of our bigger takeaways, some of the big things that left impressions with us on E3, because a lot of podcasts are going to cover the minutia and all the stuff from all the conferences, but let's just cover what we thought were some of our big takeaways of E3.
I can do that.
So what stood out to you this E3?
Well, I know we've talked about it, so let's go ahead and get the elephant in the room dealt with, because I think both of us put that on our list. Anthem,
absolutely.
Anthem. So you had mentioned that you've played Destiny, and that was actually going to be a question that I asked when I was looking over this, because that to me is kind of more like the Destiny I would want to play.
Yes.
I loved Destiny. I loved the story and stuff. I really did not like playing solo, and I didn't have many friends to play Destiny with. I ended up actually playing with a couple guys from Singapore, so that was weird. But it was cool. It was fun, but it was difficult to coordinate and stuff, and that was kind of the thing for me. But Anthem just seems a little more seamless. I love the intro trailer. Oh my god, that's got me so jazzed up for this.
So good.
Yes.
Here's my thing. So Chris McCracken, one of the co-hosts of Married to the Games, good friend of mine. We've played a ton of Destiny together. Destiny 1, and we played Destiny 2 together, and we put in a lot of hours together. And he said to me before the EA press conference, he says, "So we need to start talking about that Destiny, because that new expansion's looking pretty good. I'm gonna get you back into it." And I'm like, "I don't know, man."
It does. The Fallen looks amazing.
It does. And the funny thing is, like, Chris, I don't know how, but he always ends up roping me back in, gets my interest piqued, and then I get pulled back in. And so we're watching the Anthem trailer and the gameplay footage, and we're in this big kind of like darkened kind of warehouse, and we've got it projected up onto the screen, and all of a sudden he kind of slides up next to me and goes, "Yeah, so we may need to forget about Destiny."
Yes.
And I started laughing because I was like, yes, because this is...
I need in on that action.
Yes, this looks to me like what I wish Destiny was a little more and had, and I mean, this Anthem looks good, and I'm all about it.
Yeah, I want to be in there. The problem with Destiny I have is that it seems like with Destiny 1 and with Destiny 2, there was like one really super standout expansion. The rest of it kind of just, it felt a little bit short of where it needed to be in content. That may very well happen with Anthem. We don't know, but it looks so good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I definitely want Anthem. A quick side, I needed to start saving money because there was a lot of things that looked really good to me. Just saying.
Yeah, if they had like copies of all the games you could buy, like if launch day was during E3 for any of these major titles, there's your budding economy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for me, one of the big things that stood out, and I knew it was going to be the biggest thing for me most likely, and it did not disappoint except for one minor little thing. We did not get a release date, but The Last of Us Part 2, we got to see what could only be described as a mix between a cinematic trailer and gameplay footage.
Those are the best kind.
It was great because we get to see Ellie, and she's a little older now, and she's having a moment with her girlfriend, and like they show them start to kiss, and then it cuts to what can only be described as a brutal scene of like Ellie killing these guys that are like coming after her and just throwing down, and she's just a bad A. I mean, just totally
the official swear of the Fortress of Nerditude.
That's right. She's just holding it down, and that was just brutal. But they showed some cool gameplay. I mean, you see the duck and kind of the cover stealth kind of thing that we saw in the first game, but she also like lays down completely prone and gets underneath a car in that trailer, which is different. We didn't see any of that mechanic in the first game, so that's kind of cool. They didn't show much on the HUD. There wasn't much being displayed, so they kept it very minimalistic, which was good, and I like that. Here's the thing, though. There's a big question for me because they didn't give us a release date, and that made me sad. They don't show Joel in this at all. And now they do mention, another character does say, like, your old man was giving me a hard time today. So we think that they're talking about Joel. We're going to maybe make that assumption, but we don't actually see Joel. And in the first game, obviously, you play as Joel the majority of the game. And in the previous teaser trailer, we see Joel, or what we think is Joel, but we don't know if she's hallucinating and seeing him, if he's really there or not, if he's a ghost. I'm not sure, but it doesn't give away much of the story, and I think that's what Naughty Dog intended. They wanted to wet our whistle. They wanted to get us enticed even more, but not give anything away. They did their job perfectly. I freaking want this, but I don't know anything about the story, but it was amazing. It was just amazing.
So I'm going to have to play Last of Us before Last of Us 2 comes out.
Oh.
But this makes me think about tying this back to one of the questions. What about a Game Club episode? There are those games that come out, like we know that we're going to be playing Anthem.
Yeah, for sure.
So like after, no sleep for a few days, talking about it before we get sleep, obviously.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm down with that idea. I'm down with that idea on some of the bigger games.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting because my gaming time isn't what it used to be with kids now, so we might have to do some planning, but I like that idea. Okay, what else was something big that you got all excited about?
I would say probably equal excitement is Cyberpunk 2077.
Really?
Yes, I am so freaking stoked for this game. And for a few reasons. One is I actually used to play the old Cyberpunk tabletop, which this is based off of. Also, it's done by Project Red, the people that did Witcher.
Yeah.
So that team, after they finished everything with the Witcher 3 DLCs and add-ons and all that stuff, they've turned their attention to Cyberpunk 2077. The trailer is done with in-game engine rendering, and it just kind of shows like the seedy underbelly of the city kind of stuff, and maybe some high rollers in their cars, and it just looks like it's alive. And this is the entire environment that the game takes place in. We know that these guys can build worlds. Like, did you ever play Witcher 3?
I have it, and I started it, and then God of War arrived, and I jumped onto God of War, so I have to go back and play it.
Witcher 3 is huge, and it has so much content in it, but it takes place really on some small areas of land. They just really made this dense, and there's so much story involved. I am really super excited to see what they can turn around with Cyberpunk.
Now, as I recall, they didn't give a release date for Cyberpunk, did they?
They did not. The one confirmation that they made for this, though, is that it's going to be single player, which many people were expecting it to be multiplayer based on the fact that it's, based on a pen and paper RPG.
Right.
Personally, I am just fine with that. Witcher 3 was single player as well, so I mean, hey-oh, no big deal.
Yeah.
But they said it's going to be ready when we say it's ready.
Right.
Which
is good. You'd rather them do it right.
Yep, they're an independent studio. They don't bow to anybody. They've made enough money off of Witcher 3 to keep them sustained. I want to see this look as good as they can make it.
Okay. Yeah. So something for me, which they didn't show a lot of new stuff, but they did at the same time. The Spider-Man game that's coming up this fall. I think it's coming out in September. That thing looks so freaking good. It reminds me of some of the gameplay of, I think, Spider-Man 2 from the Xbox back in the day.
Yes.
That was a fantastic game. I got to the point where I'd pretty much beat the game, but I still would just go and like swing around and like do fun stuff and like look for little hidden tokens and Easter eggs.
Yeah, and that had like that was like one of the first games I remember having like good collection kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you could just go do all those things.
And it was kind of open world, so you could go wherever. This Spider-Man game looks fantastic. They showed more from the trailer, and it looks like there's going to be a mass breakout from Raft, and we're going to get more of the villains are going to get introduced. So Spider-Man's big on my list. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, I wore a Spider-Man shirt on Monday because of the Sony press conference, and I knew they were going to talk Spider-Man.
Way to represent, buddy.
I mean, I got to do it.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What else? Division 2.
Yeah, that actually surprisingly looked better than I thought it would.
Did you ever play Division?
I did. Actually, when Gabe Patillo from Married to the Games was here in town, him and I and Josh bought the Division all at the same time, and we played it pretty much up to the end of the game, and then we just kind of fell off, schedules kind of got a little hard. But I know my brother said he tried going back with Brett Bodden and playing it through and finishing up, and they haven't been able to do it. The problem was there was no end game content,
right? And
the story was kind of cool, but just like there wasn't enough, and it just.
Well, I mean, so it's really a Destiny clone, right?
Yeah.
And so Destiny, while maybe a little short on content, has tons of story and lore around everything that's going on. Division is you're a paramilitary group going into city for X number of reasons. It's a pretty solid trope. But I don't know. I loved the gameplay that was evolved, especially the first expansion of the Division where it was down in kind of like the random dungeons. That stuff was pretty fun for me. And I had some good friends that I was playing it with. That obviously helps. I didn't grip me the same way that Destiny did, but at the same time, I enjoyed the gameplay a bit more. So I'm really hoping to see something shiny come out of Division 2, and I'll be in there to at least check it out.
Where did you play Destiny on? Console, PC? Where were you playing that?
Well, Destiny was only on console. Destiny 2 was on PC.
Right.
Anyway, both. I have Destiny and Destiny 2 on both PS4 and Xbox.
Okay. So you were playing both.
Wherever I've got people that I know are playing.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. This was a big one. So this is a big takeaway for me because it's weird and I don't know what to think of it. So I don't know if I want it or I don't know if I don't. It's the game from Kojima, Death Stranding. This game, it's Norman Reedus obviously does all the mocap. He's in this thing, but it looks really weird. And every single trailer that comes out for this thing is weirder and different than the last. Like they don't even look like the same game at times. And this one, like it shows him with like this like little like the best way to describe it is like this like little amber jar almost that's kind of attached to his suit, and he like taps on it, and then like a fetus comes kind of like up to the glass, and then he's got some like little weird like robotic arm that comes off like a backpack, and like it's like blinking around, and you start seeing what can only be described as maybe like these dead people that are kind of like ghosty, shadowy images.
Dead people.
Right, they're like floating in the air, but they look like they're attached to like umbilical cords or something, and he's trying to avoid them, and there's like they have to be quiet because something's going on. I don't know what this thing is. I don't know what this game is. Kojima makes, obviously the Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid games, which are known for being a little quirky and weird. But this thing looks weird, and I don't know if it's weird good or weird bad. And Chris McCracken, I know my buddy's all in on this thing.
But it's made you curious.
Kojima. But I'm super curious, and so for me, this is I have to see more of this. I kind of do want to maybe get it to find out what it's going to be, because it's such an enigma. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it. I was not watching E3 all week, to be honest.
Well, I was in the air during the Sony press conference, so I had to catch it in Vegas. But go watch that trailer,
I'll have to.
and then talk to me and tell me what you think, because it's I don't know. It's unique, to say the least.
So my next one, I know it wasn't much, but I still felt the tingles go up the back of my spine looking at the overview shot of Elder Scrolls 6. I know
yes.
they've been hinting that yes, there would be at some point, but they also want to do some other stuff. And so they've been very, very, very vague about giving any kind of direction with Elder Scrolls 6, which makes perfect sense. But to see something like that, to show some kind of demonstrable proof that something is in the works for that, and the flyby looked gorgeous, and it was not all covered in snow. So I want to see. I've had hit and miss with Elder Scrolls, to be honest. I loved Morrowind. I spent hundreds of hours in Morrowind. Oblivion, I couldn't even get more than like 30 hours in. It just, some of the scaling was weird. Some things were really glitchy. I just didn't care for it much. Skyrim has been hit and miss for me. I'm glad they have it on a lot of different platforms. I've liked it on some, not on others. I love the special edition high-res stuff, though. It's so good on 4K.
I've never played Skyrim. I've never had the opportunity or the time, maybe.
Yeah, it is a big game. If you don't have the willpower to sit with one game for 70 hours plus, then it's not worth playing. Some people have beat it in like less than a couple hours, but do you really want to play a game like that way? I don't.
Right. I want to play it at some point, but my backlog is pretty big.
They've got it on Switch these days, man.
I know it is on Switch. My brother has it, and he's willing to loan it to me. So
there you go. Do it.
Of course, I've also got a PS4, so I could just get it for the PS4 too. But.
Yeah, but I think the Switch is more relevant to someone with low bandwidth on time, because you can take it for the portable side of things.
That's true. That's a good point.
So, plus God of War is not on Switch, so.
Right, exactly. Speaking of Switch, that old Fortnite is getting a port. And matter of fact, you can get it on there. I've already downloaded it.
Oh, so no more sneaking into the living room to play it late night when I'm not going to the bathroom.
That's exactly right. Now you too can have your child ignore you another way. This is interesting to me though, just because Fortnite is so massive. It didn't surprise me that it was going to come to the Switch, but it was announced, I think this morning, and they put it there and they said, "Hey, it's there. You can go download it now." And sure enough, you sure can. And Fortnite's a massive juggernaut right now. You can't deny it, and it going over to Switch is a good thing, because that game is a quick game. You can get in and out. I think it's perfect for mobile.
You know what? I'll be impressed when they have it on Alexa.
That's right. You are in the bus floating over an island. You jump out. Where do you land? Yeah.
I pick up the gauntlet.
That's right. That's right.
The Infinity Gauntlet, yeah. So Battletoads.
Were you a Battletoads guy, the original one?
I love me some Battletoads.
I've never played it.
Ridiculous fun.
Really?
It was not like anything you poured your heart into, but it was just really fun.
It was just a side scroller beat 'em up, right?
Yeah, and then so Rare got bought out. There was some speculation that, like in the early 2000s, that Battletoads would be coming out. Finally confirmed happening. I know they've got a couple stills. I haven't really looked at too much for it. I don't even care on the name alone. I am all in on Battletoads, my friend.
Okay. I I suck at Smash Brothers. I'm bad.
So
I
would have you a worse off.
I'm bad. However, I am happy that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch and that it looks like they're bringing in tons of characters. There's more options of who you can be. I think that community that is big, the Smash Brothers community is big, and there's lots of tournaments and it's competitive. And I think that this is definitely something that's needed for the Nintendo Switch. I mean, it's an obvious in my eyes to do this, but I think it's going to bolster the Nintendo Switch even more now that they're going to have, because I mean, I know that there's competitive, oh gosh, I just blanked the name because I'm tired. There's competitive play for, whatchamacallit?
Ask for it by name.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's the paint game with all the little squid kids. Gosh, what am I?
I haven't played it, but I know what you're talking about.
I've got the game. That's the thing, is I've got the game upstairs,
well,
and the boys play it with me. I'm super tired. Forgive me, super friends.
That's the question of the week. What the heck game is Spencer talking about?
I'm gonna think of it super here fast. Anyway, but the ability to have a competitive game other than Splatoon. There we go. That's going to be something I think that's really big for the Nintendo Switch, and I think Splatoon is competitive and is good, but I think Smash is going to be a whole new level, and I'm excited for that. I think that's good business for Nintendo.
You know, I've loved every generation of Nintendo, even the ones that were less popular. I think the Wii and the Wii U were great. I think they held on to franchise properties and the gimmick a little too strong. So with Switch is an outstanding system. It's versatile. It's portable. It's on your 1080p flat screen in the living room. You can play it how you want to play it. The games that they came out with at launch were actually kind of revolutionary as far as I'm concerned. But that they're actually getting involved with more mainstream gaming it feels like a weird step for Nintendo, even though they were one of the front runners of this. So I'm glad to see them getting more involved with mainstream gaming in the first place with an innovative system. I love the Switch. I hope they continue this trend of having innovative ways to give you gaming, but keep it relevant to what's really popular on all the platforms.
Yeah.
Speaking of platforms, new Xbox has been announced.
Really though, was it?
Yeah.
I sat there during the Microsoft press conference and they said, hey, we're working on the Xbox One and continue to do things. And obviously we're working on, we're working towards the next console, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's necessarily an announcement though. Did something else happen while I was on the flight from Vegas?
No, I mean, that's about it, though. I mean, that's as much detail as I've given. The thing is I like it because it's more of a confirmation that they're working on something. I get excited when next-gen systems come out because that, to me, is what really sparks the innovation between systems. And I know that Sony and Microsoft are both trying to separate themselves and be differentiators in the market for different reasons rather than kind of being homogenized like we saw around the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 eras. I'm hopeful that they do have some innovative things and not just different home screens, but really kind of the same systems. I don't know. I get excited when I hear about stuff like that, and that's why I brought it to my list, and I don't care, blah, blah, blah.
I just look at it and went, yeah, you're just stating the obvious, the thing that everyone knows. I think
sure, yes.
I think it's maybe a way of just saying, like, shots fired, we're going to be the first ones out of the gate saying we're working on it.
Yeah.
The real thing will be who's the first out of the big two that actually rolls and says, we're releasing it on this date.
Yeah, but the last generation between Xbox One and PS4, what was it, Xbox One? That launch was not great.
Oh, it was horrible.
So they have a lot to make up for there, even if they're first.
Yeah, that is true.
So we'll see.
Okay, one of the last things that I wanted to bring up, because there's lots of things that I could say, but Fallout 76. They announced this game and there was rumors that a new Fallout game, right? Here's the thing. I've never played a Fallout game. Never. I know.
Who are you? And what have you done with Spencer?
I know. I think I may go pick up Fallout 4 and give that a try.
Oh,
no,
that's not the series' best example.
Really? Because I know lots of people that say that Fallout 4 is amazing.
It's good, but if you really want the best, Fallout New Vegas is easily heralded as the best of them. Fallout 3 was even almost as good. Fallout 4, while good, also suffers from some problems that make it not shine as brightly as its predecessors.
Okay.
But that being said, 76 looks great.
76 does look great.
And it has green. It has the color green in it. It's not deserts.
Here's what I saw, though, is that as they were showing it, as the conference was talking about it, as they were showing gameplay, the more that went on, I was like, okay, this looks interesting. And then they said that it's going to be an online game.
That's right.
And so it's not.
Never mind.
It's not going to be the traditional version, but it's going to be online. But they're not, and they're going to be cross-server play. So like, your friends could be on a different server, but yet you could still party up with them, and that's not going to be an issue. But you're not going. They said they're not. This is the world of Fallout. They're not going to make it feel like there's thousands of people walking around on your server. You may have 12 people on your server, and that means you might not be able to. You may not run into people a lot still.
I wonder if this is their answer to what was rumored to be the Fallout MMO when everyone was making an MMO about everything. Online play, I don't know. That really does lose a little bit of interest for me. Hopefully it is like they say, that it's going to be likely that you're not going to run into people accidentally. I would be down to play with some friends for Fallout, but I don't want it to be this big open world mashup between a ton of people.
Well, the interesting thing was they said that you can play solo, but it's harder. But they want you to partner up with 3 of your friends and go in like little, basically fire teams.
You know what?
4.
You know what, game developers? Stop telling me how to play.
They're giving you the option. They're just saying it's harder to go solo.
Yeah.
So you need to shoot first. That looked interesting to me. It's one of those things where it got me interested enough that I was like, maybe I should go back and play one of the other games and find out if I like this kind of a game, if I'm into this game, so that I know if I really should invest in 76 going forward.
My question to you would be this to decide. The one mechanism of Fallout 4 that was different was that you could actually build your own strongholds, if you will, little mini cities, and build the walls and kind of put together the logistics and run the electricity through them all and all that stuff. If base building is a part of something that you may like, then maybe Fallout 4 would be better. But if you think it would be a distraction unless it was perfect, then stay away from it and go with New Vegas. New Vegas is the best as far as I'm concerned.
That's good to know. I did download the Fallout Shelter game for the Switch that was free. I know it's a mobile game.
Yeah, that is nothing like Fallout.
I understand that, but I mean, it was available, and I was like, I'll try it.
So speaking of other big names for Bethesda, we've talked about Elder Scrolls 6. We've talked about Fallout.
Yep.
But their original IP is what I really want to see come to light and be amazing, and that's Starfield.
Really?
So, yeah, and I mean, Fallout is kind of like is a post-apocalyptic, but really just tie into some nostalgia. You've got the fantasy of Skyrim, but to see something open universe, open galaxy, open space. They haven't even said it's open, but that's how Bethesda makes games, so hopefully it is.
Right.
I would love to see them take the winning formula for Elder Scrolls, for example, and put that into space in some way.
There wasn't a lot there when they showed Starfield.
No, there wasn't. It was just the idea of it, though. It sparks the idea.
Right. My guess is it's a few years out, but it did look good.
Yeah, well, these guys are pros at making games, and if they can take some of the engine technology and whatnot they've already built and apply it, then maybe that speeds things up. So who knows? But I'll be there. I will be there. I'll be there.
There was a samurai game that they showed that I also thought looked really good. This was during Sony's, called The Ghost of Tsushima. Basically, like you're some sort of like samurai and you're trying to like I don't know what it was, but like you were like it's by Sucker Punch, who did Infamous, and you're like moving around and you're trying to like prepare because like it's like the Mongol invasion has just started, and you're basically I don't know, kind of looks like you're doing stealth stuff, but yet you're in feudal Japan, and this is or feudal China. Sorry,
feudal or futile.
Yeah, feudal. But it looks really, really cool. It looked beautiful, and all these leaves that they were showing. I mean, it is amazing looking. So I kind of like that. I don't know what it is. I want to see more before I'm gonna say I'm gonna buy it. But I mean, it does look pretty good. You need to check it out. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. The only other thing I had, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yep.
We didn't see anything about it, but there are two things that really speak out to me. One is it takes place between 3 and 4, when the Jedi have been wiped out-ish.
Or are in the process of being wiped out.
Right. And that it's supposed to be open world.
Yeah.
So I would love to kind of roam around as a Jedi and blast some stuff and not be kind of held to an on-the-rails game.
And avoid Darth Vader at all costs.
If you could play as Darth Vader through this, even better.
Ooh, what if that was the game? You actually played as Darth Vader hunting down Jedi in an open world game, trying to like sleuth them out and find clues to, hunt them down in their little hidey holes.
Or maybe it's just like the last 3 minutes of Rogue One over and over and over again. I would play that.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down with that.
That's all I had, man.
Yeah. So anyway, these are some of our big takeaways, the things that we found interesting or curious about from E3 this year. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, I was in Nashville. I was surrounded by a lot of people. Obviously, I wasn't at the E3 conference, but I was with a lot of people that I'd consider family and friends, and we got to watch it together. So that was a lot of fun. But here's the question of the week for you, the super friend. What was your favorite reveal from E3, and what do you feel was missing? And Stu and I are going to answer that right now. So Stu, what was your favorite reveal from E3, and what was missing?
My favorite reveal was hands down Cyberpunk. I've been watching Cyberpunk news since the moment they announced it was happening. This is definitely the one game that I knew if I only had the money to buy one game for 2 years, it would be it. I'm totally stoked for that. I think it looks amazingly gorgeous. I know what the studio is capable of putting out, and to see the kind of quality that we had in Witcher 3 applied to Cyberpunk, it gives me chills. What do I think was missing? Actual news about PS5 and Xbox One.
Yeah, although they kind of said, PlayStation said ahead of time they're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, well.
But still, I get you. For me, my favorite reveal was more of game footage and cinematics from The Last of Us Part 2. I loved that game. The first game is probably my favorite game of all time. Out of everything I've ever played, it's an amazing game, and it holds a special place in my heart. So that was probably my favorite from this E3.
That's what makes me want to play it so much. Not just that people say it's a good game, but to hear someone that I know likes some of the same things I do say it's their favorite of all time. Yeah. That's a review I'll listen to tie back a few episodes.
Right. What do I feel was missing? Any news on Final Fantasy VII's remake? Square Enix had the press conference, and they showed nothing on Final Fantasy VII. And
talk about series fatigue.
No. Man, I could never not get enough of 7. That game was a landmark game. It was beautiful storytelling. And we know that it's happening. We know that Square Enix has taken the game back in-house. But nothing. I mean, this is their first presser in like 3 years. You can't show us any new footage, any new cinematics. You can't give us an update on it. Nothing. That's what I felt was missing. But super friends, we want to hear from you. So this week, your mission, should you choose to accept it, and you will, because I just used my Force Jedi mind trick on you, is that you will answer our question and let us know what was your favorite reveal from E3 and what do you feel was missing. And you can get us at all the places: email, Twitter, Facebook, voicemail, you know where. If you need it to know, holler at us, we'll tell you where.
And if you didn't happen to follow E3 much, then, if there's something else that you're still really excited to see that you've got some news about, let us know that too.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're only into board games and you don't care about those digital video games,
oh, those whippersnappers,
tell us what it is, and
and
we'll
then I'll
answer.
go buy it.
We'll read that. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I do
exactly.
with board games. I buy them.
Exactly right. Anyway, thank you so much once again, Stu. This was great. It was a lot of fun.
Always, brother.
And we will see you guys next week. So wherever you may be out there in podcast land and beyond, may the Force be with you. Always.